Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for returning a birthday gift I got for my boyfriend after he insulted me about my colorful past? This happened last night, but my phone is still blowing up. I 26 female dipped into my savings and got Mike, my boyfriend, 27, a PS5 for his birthday yesterday. He knew he was getting the PS5 because he told me that the PS5 is the only thing he wants. We've been together for 4 years, so the cost didn't matter. That is until I found out what he thinks about me. Some background: when I was 18, I was involved with Jake, a guy who I met online. We ended things after 3 months, and I moved on shortly after with Adam, a guy from work. I found out a couple months later that Jake and Adam were actually really close friends, but I didn't know Jake long enough to meet his friend group, so I had no idea. After finding out, I took some time off dating, and 2 years later, I met my current boyfriend Mike. I was upfront and honest with Mike about my past and the fact that I was unintentionally involved with friends. He said he understood and my past didn't bother him. Last night at his party, I showed up with the PS5 and him and his friends were screaming with joy. His best female friend Jessica laughed and said, "I wish I was a thought so I could afford a PS5 too." I looked at her with an "excuse me?" look on my face and she just said never mind and walked away. I confronted my boyfriend about it and he said, and I quote, "She's just messing with you. You can't take a joke?" So I pushed further as to why this girl is even calling me names to begin with, and he said, "Well, everyone knows you were a thought before you met me." I asked him to explain how I was a thought before him and he said, messing with best friends? He then pat me on the shoulder and said that it's okay because I'm not who I was back then, and if he could get over my colorful past and thought mentalities to give me a chance, then I could get over Jessica's comments and give her another chance. I didn't say anything. I just got up, took the PS5 from the gift table and left. He was pissed. He literally called me like 20 times, but I didn't care. I was so hurt that I took the bow off and took it straight back to the store I got it from. They happily refunded it. I thought that was done, but Mike and all his friends including Jessica are berating me for being petty and they're all saying I brought this on myself by making poor choices. I responded to Mike and told him that he deserves better than me, so find someone who wasn't a thought and get the PS5 from them because I returned it. He started screaming how I'm the biggest a-hole for returning it and how I should be happy he ignored my colorful past. I'm thinking maybe taking it back went too far. Am I the a-hole? Next story. Am I the a-hole for sending my brother a list of every item of ours that my nephew ruined? For the context, I, 25 female, have a niece, Bella, 7 female, and a nephew, Michael, 10 male. They're my brother Alex's kids. I love them both, but I have a much closer relationship with Bella. Michael is a good kid, but he is a ticking time bomb. He is absolutely uncontrollable. I'm his aunt and I love him, but I really can't have him around for long. The last time he was in our house he poured my nail polish collection onto my wife's favorite silk Persian carpet. And that isn't even 1% of the damage he has done. My wife, 27 female, and I recently bought a villa out of town. It has a game room, pool, and many things Bella adores. So we offered to give her a tour of the place and let her check out the rose garden there, if Alex and his wife agreed. Alex said either both Michael and Bella were to be included or none of them were going. My wife and I both insisted to only take Bella, but he was not having it, so we said we would just go by ourselves. Alex got really mad at us and said it was disgusting that we favored Bella because she was a girl and that we were both hypocritical and unfair to Michael, and never included him in our plans. I told my brother that Michael was an uncontrollable kid. He had the audacity to ask what Michael had done. I told him I'd let him know. I've told him the items over the years as it happened, but he always said it was an accident and that Michael's a boy and boys play rough. I made a table including every item my nephew damages in our house and the estimated cost. It included a few of my wife's antique vases, her glass statue of the Eiffel Tower, carpet, several of my wife's crystal decorative items and 2 phones. He flushed them down the toilet. Even the mirror of my car. I sent the list to Alex. He is now extremely angry with me, and thinks I am being an arrogant person, and taking after my wife's trait of being an uptight rich kid. I am not talking to him at the moment. Was what I did a-hole territory? Next story. Am I the a-hole for throwing out my husband's friend's food? My husband loves his buddy Steve. I would love Steve a lot more if he wasn't always trying to give my cat human food when he is visiting. I have explained it to him many times. Steve, do not give her anything, she is only allowed to have cat food. I have had to do this literally every time he has been in my house with food. Nevertheless, Steve persists. I come home yesterday and Steve and my husband are throwing darts in the garage. Then they go out and come back with some fast food, including a meal for me. I turn my back for one moment to get some plates, and when I turn back around I see Steve offering my cat a piece of garlic bread. I yell at him to stop it already, grab his whole meal and dump it in the trash. He calls me a B word and reaches for my meal. I grab it away and yell at him to get the hell away from my cat until he's learned some manners. They go back out to the garage and I overhear my husband trying to reason with him a bit, but he's not having it and he storms out. Steve is pissed, husband is understanding where I'm at with him always trying to feed the cat, but also annoyed and says I had no right to throw out his meal. I really don't want to see Steve in my house at all anytime soon, but at the very least I don't want him here with any food until he learns to keep it to himself. Next story. Am I the a-hole for canceling a vacation because my wife can't pay her share after helping her adult son and ex-husband? My wife, 44 female, makes quite a bit less than me, 45 male, so our joint expenses are split 70/30ths. For the most part things like vacations and where we bought a house are decided based on what she can afford, but there have been several times I've paid in full for vacations to places I really enjoy and wanted to share the experience with her. She has a 23-year-old son from her previous marriage. When she and I got together I told her I wouldn't mind paying extra for things here and there until her son was 18 and working or in school so she could take care of him. For the majority of our relationship, he has lived with his father. He decided against college or trade school and hasn't expressed any interest in starting to figure out a plan for the immediate future, let alone his life. He floats from job to job, and his father is pretty much the same since the kid graduated. Therein lies the problem. Every few months they'll call her for a few $100s here, a few hundred there, $20 this week, $80 the next. Sometimes it's her son calling for help, sometimes it's her ex-husband. This has caused her to be short on funds for our plans, or things she volunteered to cover on more than one occasion. Her reasoning when it's her ex asking is that since their son still lives with him, she has to help him. I get that to a point. We were supposed to go on a vacation later this month. Nothing major or fancy, but just time away. We had agreed to split the cost and all that was left to pay for were the hotels, rental car, and some reservations. Her ex-husband called needing help getting his car out of impound and getting caught up on rent. Their son hasn't been able to get to work without the car because he doesn't want to ride a bike or take a bus. Almost $5,000 later they're set up, but my wife told me she can't pay for her portion of our vacation, so I told her I was canceling it. She called me a heartless man, that she's just taking care of her son and we've been arguing over it, but my stance is this: they're both able-bodied adults that keep making a series of life decisions that keep them at a standstill, like quitting jobs over little things, smoking, going out, and her always digging them out of their hole is starting to impact our lives more and more, and I didn't sign up for that. Am I the a-hole for canceling our vacation instead of just footing the entire cost myself? Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I am willing to sell them my forgiveness? My parents expected me to be independent the minute I turned 18. They gave me the money they had saved up for my education and they started charging me rent. I was lucky enough to have a partial scholarship and I found a job in the city my university was in, so I moved there before the school year began. With my parents' money, my scholarship, and my wages I was able to scrape by. I rarely if ever spoke with my parents. I was kind of busy. I guess they decided that they didn't want that kind of relationship with my younger siblings because they were not presented with the same option. They both lived at home all through university and even afterwards. I am 34 now with a decent job and a great girlfriend whom I will be marrying this summer. I sent my parents and siblings an invitation. They called me to ask why they were not involved in the wedding. I responded that they hadn't really been part of my life in 16 years and that I was being nice by inviting them. They said that they acknowledged that they made mistakes when I was young, bet that it was in the past and that I should get over it. Against my fiance's advice, I sent them an itemized bill for everything I paid for myself that they freely gave my brother and sister. I said if they wanted to be a part of my life, they had to ante up. They said that they cannot afford that because they are in debt still from helping my siblings out. I laughed at that and said I hoped that I would see them at the wedding and hung up. My family are all getting a hold of me to let me know how much I'm hurting my parents. The thing is that I don't want their money. And I don't want anything from them at all other than their attendance at my wedding. If they can't do that, then I'm fine with our yearly phone call. Am I the a-hole? Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister grieving her dog is not the same as me grieving my husband? To make a long story short, I lost my husband only a month ago. It's hard, I'm still grieving and I miss him every day. I have to take medication for depression and anxiety to help me get through the day. Last week, my sister's dog was put down due to some health issues and she was very upset, which is understandable. She called me as soon as it happened and said I was the only sibling who would understand her pain. I didn't mind, honestly. I just wanted to comfort her since her dog meant the world to her. She held a wake for him and our whole family attended. It was a nice service. But now, she's comparing our losses. Telling me she knows exactly what I'm going through. That she can relate to the pain of losing someone so close to you. She calls me asking if we should visit graves together. It was fine the first time, but it's constant. She goes 3 times a day. It's already difficult to go once a week for me, and she knows this. I feel like she's not even considering my own grief process. Anyway, I told her that grieving her dog is not the same as grieving my husband. She's upset and refusing to talk to me now. I get it, it was uncalled for really. But my loss is new to me too, and I guess I just got frustrated with how different we're dealing with our losses. I don't know, I feel like she should understand where I'm coming from too. A dog is not the same as a husband. A dog can't love you back like a husband can. A dog can't read to your children like a husband can. A dog can't make soup when you're ill like a husband can. It's really hard for me right now to discern when I'm being condescending or not. I don't know if it's a side effect of my medication or if the empathetic part of my brain has shut down. But I really am getting tired of her comparing our pain when she lost her dog and I lost my world. At the very least, she still has her husband. I have 2 young children at home, processing a loss unimaginable to most kids their age. And she's trying to whisk me away to graveyards to visit her dog. Am I the a-hole? I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.